Have you ever had a moment where something around you just felt off? Where something you are looking at seemed to glitch and you couldn't quite explain what was happening? From the occasional déjà vu to something bizarre caught on camera, some people believe that these moments might be evidence of something greater. A glitch in the Matrix.
What did you just say?
What is it?
A déjà vu is usually a glitch in the Matrix. It happens when they change something.
The Matrix is a concept from the 1999 science fiction film, The Matrix, in which the world we see is actually a simulated reality created by intelligent machines to distract and pacify humans while they use their bodies as an energy source.
But it's been a heck of a ride, to be honest. I really can't complain. I was kind of I was a little down when I found out I was injured and I had to have surgery again, with another knee. But at the end of the day, I have amazing teammates. Guys like Draymond, everybody on this team, they come over there, they wrap their hands around me like, yo, we got.
Look at Shaq. Look at Shaq. Look at his face.
He ain't moved.
He's not moving. Look.
And 12 in a row. And
he's not Look at him
until they say his name. Look
he
at his eyes. Look everything.
Look
Nothing.
at this.
Twice in this series.
Nothing. Look at his hands. Nothing.
Welcome to Inside.
Look, now,
Shaq's right there.
He said Shaq, and then he popped back. Bro, y'all cannot tell me that this MK Ultra stuff ain't real.
Look at Charles Barkley's face, bro. Look. Just look. Look how he look. Like what the.
Now he looked like, what's going on?
Look,
he weirded out.
This happened a while ago, but we have to address it, okay? You went viral during the finals.
Halftime report coming up. They're ready to go. Chauncey, Jalen, Michelle, and Paul.
According to this theory, the glitches we experience are moments when the simulated reality momentarily breaks down, revealing the true nature of the world. But is it possible that the Matrix is real? Could our entire reality be a computer-generated simulation? Many scientists and philosophers have argued that it's not only possible, but highly likely. They point to the incredible advancements we've made in virtual reality, and the fact that our understanding of the universe is constantly evolving as evidence that we could be living in a simulated reality.
That's exactly how you have to have a certain amount of distance between the bodies.
Exactly.
In junior high.
Yes, like they say in Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost. Anyway, there is a lot of memories today, actually. It's a big day in music history.
But we actually do have an explanation for what was up with Al Roker. He says he just wanted to see how long he could hold the pose, and the director kind of egged him on. So it wasn't really a glitch in the Matrix after all.
Others argue that the complexity and randomness of the world around us is proof that it can't be simulated. Regardless of which side of the argument you fall on, one thing is certain. The idea of the Matrix has captivated our imaginations and made us question the nature of reality itself. So next time you experience something strange, and not readily explainable, would you be satisfied with a simpler explanation, or could it be a glimpse into a deeper truth? Personally, I am satisfied with the simpler explanation that our reality is real. But I do find looking into this idea interesting, as it puzzles my imagination and entertains my thoughts. For example, in this video, a man shows up on camera from nowhere. I must have replayed this scene over 100 times, and I still cannot see where the man was coming from. Can you? Did something not render in our world for this to happen? And here, do you see the difference in that car when viewing it between two window panes? From one view, there is a car shade and another the car shade isn't there. This is so bizarre and I can't find a reasonable explanation besides some clever editing.
What did you just say?
What is it?
A déjà vu is usually a glitch in the Matrix. It happens when they change something.
The Mandela Effect is a phenomenon in which a large group of people remembers an event or fact differently than it actually occurred. This term was coined by Fiona Broome, who noticed that a significant number of people believed that Nelson Mandela had died in prison in the 1980s, even though he was released and became the president of South Africa in the 1990s. The concept of the Mandela Effect is a weird one to me. I mean, when it boils down to it, I end up asking, do I trust my own memory of what happened, or can I brush it off to me not getting any younger and my memory was not as good as I thought it was? For example, I really thought Sinbad made a movie as a genie, and I really thought Ed McMahon was a spokesperson for Publishers Clearinghouse. And I remember Jiffy peanut butter. Can I adapt to the newly realized reality that Curious George never had a tail? Or there was never a cornucopia in the fruit of the loom tag? What's the big deal if the monkey never had a tail? The concept of the Mandela Effect suggests that there may be multiple timelines or realities, and that we may be experiencing different versions of events or phenomena than others due to a change or shift in the timeline. If this theory is true, then the Mandela Effect could be seen as a glitch in the simulation that causes changes in the timeline, or a parallel universe we are currently experiencing. These changes could be small or significant, and they may impact our memories and perceptions of reality, causing us to remember events or details differently than they actually occurred. For example, some people might remember a popular children's book being spelled a certain way, but in reality, it was never spelled that way. This discrepancy could be attributed to a glitch in the simulation that created a different version of the book in a different timeline or parallel universe. Proponents of this theory point out that the Mandela Effect often involves small details or inconsistencies that could easily be explained as computer errors. For example, some people remember the Berenstain Bears being spelled as Berenstein, while others remember it as Berenstain. This could be a result of a coding error in the simulation. At the end of the day. So what if Ed McMahon was never a spokesperson for the clearinghouse? What if there really was no Jiffy peanut butter? Or what if the guy on the Monopoly game never had a monocle? How does these seemingly insignificant changes in memory affect the timeline we are in today? Are these errors just proof that we are in a simulated reality? Or is it proof that a creator made changes in code to alternate reality to what they want? That is probably the ultimate question, and like a ripple in a pond that started on the other end of a pool, it is very hard to find a relation to the lost memory to how it affects our living today. So, when some argue that it is proof that we are living in a simulated reality, and there are many multiverses that intersect due to errors in the computer program, I end up asking if that is so. What is the reasoning behind it? How can we link one event to another? There is no scientific evidence to support the idea that we are living in a simulated reality, or that the Mandela Effect is related to it. While it is possible that the Mandela Effect is a result of faulty memory or cognitive biases, more research is needed to understand this phenomenon fully. Yeah. Again, the concept to me is totally weird, but I leave the door open for people's thoughts and comments, as I do end up bedazzled when new effects altered what I once remembered. It is entertaining to say the least, and who knows, we might be able to find the ripple in the pond someday, and use our new knowledge to somehow have the power of a creator to change the course of reality.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
It has been said that something as small as the flutter of a butterfly's wing can ultimately cause a typhoon halfway around the world.
In the beginning of this video, we saw some clips that some may interpret as glitches in the Matrix. Evidence that we are only looking at the surface of something possibly much deeper. The simulation theorists will argue and point out these things in search for the ultimate truth. And once the ultimate truth is found, only then can we understand and interact with a true reality.
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
This award from you, who take your craft seriously and earnestly believe, like me, that...
As the cast members accept a SAG award, we can see an actress, Winona Ryder, giving unusual facial expressions throughout. I believe the official reason was because she couldn't hear the speech. But what if that wasn't it at all? What if something we cannot see was occurring, causing her to lose control of her bodily functions momentarily? Personally, if I couldn't hear a speech, I'd probably be more emotionless, or just smiling, but that's just me. So if we don't accept that reason, what else would cause someone to do that? And why not think the possibility of some sort of glitch? What if you see someone else acting in a similar manner? Here Lady Gaga seems to be having the same facial expressions as Winona Ryder. Why do some people call this an MKUltra event? Now, the topic of mind control can be a video in itself, but here, we are trying to relate that thought to a simulated world. It is known fact that governmental studies were conducted and kept secret for long periods of time. For example, MKUltra. In short, MKUltra was a top-secret program ran by the CIA from the 1950s to the 1970s, with the aim of developing mind control techniques through the use of drugs, hypnosis, and other means. The program was eventually exposed and shut down, and remains a controversial chapter in US history. Who knows what is kept secret today? For example, when a person falls into a deep trance state, making them look inhuman for a few moments, might make some of us wonder if their minds were being controlled, as if a hidden message was being uploaded to their brain, momentarily causing them to act strange. An update to the code. One might think, possibly to alter the version of themselves to what the controller wishes, and ultimately causing a chain of effects to change the course of reality. For example, imagine Winona Ryder after the ceremony. The episode she had on stage caused her to miss an after party because she decided to go home instead and sleep. And since she did not go, it started a different chain of events. A very long series of events that eventually caused World War III. Of course, I'm exaggerating for dramatization, but wanted to point out the possibility that a subtle change in events may cause a drastic change to a future timeline. Like a butterfly flapping its wing, or a stone being thrown into a pond, the ripple can start in one place. But it would be very hard to relate the chain of events that led to something unrelated at all. Because if we could recognize the change in program, maybe we could do something to change the future timeline to something we wanted.
My best evidence for why I think we live in a simulation, and I'm just gonna go public on this. I think right when civilization is kind of going smooth, then something happens, okay? A politician rises up, there's a war, there's a world war, there's tsunamis, and I think the aliens program that in for their own entertainment. Because that's what we did in the sim games. In Sim City, where you're mayor of a city and everything's going fine, unannounced, Godzilla trounces through your city. And now you have to deal with it, with the fire and the police and to rebuild the schools. And that's you running the software, the programmer sending that in without telling you that's gonna happen. I think all of the troubles we have in the world is evidence that the programmers need entertainment. The 1920s was the birth of quantum physics. You try to measure it and it's not there anymore, but you saw it there a moment ago, and it was intriguing. Weird, crazy things were going on, which at the time, surely there were people who say, what are you doing? I don't understand it.
At the tiniest levels that we can observe lie the scientific realm of quantum mechanics. It is a fascinating and mysterious field of physics that describes the behavior of particles at the smallest scale. It has led to groundbreaking discoveries, such as the wave-particle duality of matter and the concept of entanglement, where particles can be connected in a way that transcends physical distance. The principles of quantum mechanics have also raised intriguing questions about the nature of reality and our place within it. In particular, some scientists and philosophers have proposed that our universe may actually be a computer-generated simulation, similar to a virtual reality game. This idea has gained traction due to the strange and seemingly random behavior of particles at the quantum level, which could be interpreted as evidence of a programmed reality. For example, the double-slit experiment. And the fundamental question is, if light a particle or wave? The double-slit experiment has a long history of development and evolution, dating back to the early 1800s when Thomas Young first performed a similar experiment with light waves. However, it was not until the 20th century that the experiment was performed with particles such as electrons, and the full implications of the experiment became clear. It involves firing particles, such as electrons or photons, through two parallel slits and observing the resulting pattern on a screen. When the particles are fired through the two slits, they create an interference pattern on the screen, which is characteristic of wave-like behavior. However, when the particles are observed or measured, they behave like particles and the interference pattern disappears. This is known as the observer effect, which suggests that the act of measurement can influence the behavior of particles. The double-slit experiment has important implications for the interpretation of quantum mechanics and our understanding of the nature of reality at the smallest scales. It has been used to support a range of interpretations, including the Copenhagen interpretation, the many worlds interpretation, and the pilot wave theory. The interpretation of the double-slit experiment has been a subject of debate among physicists for decades. The Copenhagen interpretation, proposed by Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg, suggests that particles exist in a state of superposition until observed, at which point they collapse into a definite state. The many worlds interpretation, proposed by Hugh Everett, suggests that every observation creates a new universe in which the particle exists in different states. The pilot wave theory, proposed by Louis de Broglie and David Bohm, suggests that particles are guided by an underlying wave that determines their behavior. In other words, the state of light we see renders as a photon particle when the conscious mind observes it. But when we aren't looking at it, it is in a wave state. How weird is that? Why would the act of looking at something change the physical nature of what we are looking at? How is that even imaginable, and how does that affect the reality we live in? For example, if we can relate this to a video game, it makes me think, what we see or interact with turns light into a particle state, but anything we don't see is in another state, a wave state, which could mean for video games, though in our minds we know something we don't physically see is there, won't be rendered until we get closer to those areas. And since video games are simulated environments, we may be able to draw comparisons on how our own lives could be in someone else's game. So, why even look at our reality this way?
Coming to you now from the largest studio ever constructed, it's the Truman Show!
Yeah!
Good morning!
What if?
Morning! Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
No scripts, no cue cards.
Morning, Spencer. How's it going?
What if you were watched every moment of your life?
I believe Truman is the first child to have been legally adopted by a corporation.
That's correct.
What if your world was make-believe?
Cue the sun.
Brilliant.
What if everyone you knew was pretending?
Hi, honey.
While the world he inhabits is counterfeit.
I'm not allowed to talk to you.
That's how I look. Not your type. There's nothing fake about Truman himself.
What if you didn't know it? Until now.
The Truman Show is a 1998 movie directed by Peter Weir, starring Jim Carrey as Truman Burbank. The film tells the story of a man who lives in a manufactured reality television show, created and controlled by a television producer named Christoph, played by Ed Harris. Truman is unaware that his entire life is being broadcast to the world, and everyone he interacts with, including his friends, family, and even his wife, are all actors. As Truman starts to notice strange occurrences and inconsistencies in his world, he becomes increasingly suspicious and starts to question his reality. Eventually, he decides to leave his fabricated environment and escape the town of Sea Haven where he has been living his entire life. The film ends with Truman sailing into the horizon, finally free from the constraints of his manufactured world. We see him open a door and go through it, a strong symbol of resolving what he felt his entire life. To enter a new chapter, a different chapter, and more true chapter of reality. It is mind-blowing that the idea of a simulated reality is hard to debunk, and on the flip side, it is just as hard to see it as fact, but ultimately I would find some deep satisfaction finding the answer for this. Wouldn't you? I highly recommend watching this movie, if you haven't, because it explores the idea of free will, ethics, and the nature of reality. A movie over 20 years old, which holds a lot of value on the subject we are talking about today and for the foreseeable future. So, if you could imagine yourself being Truman Burbank, and the journey he went through, filling in the pieces of obscurities to free himself from a simulated reality. What obscurities in life can we identify right now to possibly find a true meaning to? And if we find it, how will knowing that improve ourselves and those around us? Remember MK Ultra? And how there may be a higher force using hidden tactics to shape our existence. I do find myself asking then, if that is the case, who is making the decisions to shape it in their ways? What if, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, who mentioned that, just when things are going well for humanity, something may have been added to the program for the creator's entertainment? And I guess we can look at this higher powers on Earth as messengers, or actors, to upkeep the program of the simulation. Because there are plenty of times where I am left questioning myself after seeing some of these bizarre clips captured on film.
Ready, Caleb? Yes. Grace? Go, I'm filming.
Holy shit!
Here goes something.
Sharon, airbags, please!
The weapon facility is not equipped with airbags.
Okay. Alright, everybody sees me walking. I'm walking. Look. This plane isn't moving. It's not moving.
Dancer's hat reappears after he throws it.
If we are to imagine that there is a true creator, a one above all, or even an audience of a higher reality, we can possibly find some reasoning to the purpose of these strange glitches. It draws me closer to the idea that we are living within some well-designed, but not perfect simulation. I mean, when I think about it. The fact is, we are the only known intelligent life in the vastness of space, that the stars must have aligned just for us to breathe on this beautiful planet, the right conditions, the right catastrophic events, the right evolving, for us to think critically and make advances to our civilizations in ways unimaginable, thousands of years ago. Here, we see a tactic to gain infinite lives, in the 1983 Nintendo Super Mario Bros., and in various other games like Contra. Keystrokes. That will ensure your way to beating the game. Wouldn't it be crazy if in our world, we could all find something like that to tip the odds in our favor? So, if it were a fact that our reality is not what we think it is, our way of thinking would change forever. And if we knew how to access the higher level of reality, maybe we can control a different destiny. And that could be a very good reason to look at our environment this way. Someday, we might just find a cheat code to travel the vastness of space, a cheat code to improve ourselves in ways we cannot yet imagine.
I dreamed I was a butterfly, flitting around in the sky. Then I awoke. Now I wonder, am I a man who dreamt of being a butterfly, or am I a butterfly, dreaming that I am a man?
Wangzi's The Butterfly Dream, which was publicized during the 3rd century BC, is a philosophical parable that explores the nature of reality and our perception of it. The story centering around a dream in which Zhuangzi becomes a butterfly, flying freely and enjoying the beauty of nature. When he wakes up, he is left questioning whether he is actually a man who dreamt he was a butterfly, or a butterfly dreaming he is a man. Just as Zhuangzi is unsure of whether he is a man or a butterfly, we cannot be certain that our reality is not just a simulation created by an outside force. And we can argue that this obscurity is something we are in the early stages of mastering. And once mastered, will we be able to distinguish between realities?
We're focused on building the fundamental technology that will help bring the metaverse to life.
The MetaQuest Pro is the latest in a line of virtual reality headsets that allows users to experience immersive digital environments.
This is MetaQuest Pro.
So, when we put the headset on, users can consume content and access social features, making it a versatile device for gaming, entertainment, and collaboration. This would take ourselves from one reality into an augmented, or even a fully virtual one, allowing us to see things that isn't really there.
Resolution cameras that capture 4 times as many pixels as Quest 2, and an additional RGB camera to turn pass-through into full color, along with a depth system made to understand your environment.
You can use a whiteboard, bring in 3D objects. Everyone is present and has the same tools whether they're in full VR or in mixed reality. We think that this will help hybrid teams collaborate.
Right now we see cartoons and 2D computer screens. Can you just imagine the advances this technology can make 30 years from now? 100 years?
Whether that's in virtual reality, augmented reality, or the social presence layer across both. We're really excited to get this into your hands, and it's available for pre-order starting today for $14.99, and it ships on October 25th.
However, I'm not sure how a headset can capture our other senses like touch, smell, and taste. In order to do something like this, I would think we would need direct access to manipulate ourselves. Our brain plays a significant role in all of our senses. But could that even be possible? Could we manipulate our own minds to simulate a reality that we know isn't real? Something that sounds like straight science fiction, right? Until we hear about Neuralink.
In a lot of ways, it's kind of like a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires.
Neuralink wants to connect our brains to computers, and now it's showed off a device reading a pig's brain signals in real time. Chip plugs into your brain directly via tiny microscopic threads. They're about 1/20th of the width of a human hair.
Founded by Elon Musk in 2016, with the goal of creating implantable brain-machine interfaces, Neuralink's goal is to allow for direct communication between the brain and external devices, ultimately aiming for a whole brain interface that could revolutionize the way we interact with machines.
It's a brain-computer interface designed to be implanted directly into the brain by a surgical robot. Same-day surgery without a big incision or general anesthesia.
I find it unbelievable that, first of all, there is a machine ready to test on humans, and the whole procedure could potentially be done in a day, like a visit to the dentist.
You remove about a coin-sized piece of skull, and then you can just walk around right afterwards. It's pretty cool.
Connecting the link to a heads-up display so you could walk around like the Terminator.
Think about it. The life that you know of can drastically change from a regular person to a cybernetic one, capable of absorbing knowledge instantly and gaining new abilities. How crazy or amazing is that?
And then there were basic ideas like, I don't know, telepathy, replaying your own memories, superhuman vision and the ability to see ultraviolet light. Oh, and connecting your brain and uploading it into a robot.
Now, could you imagine, when fully developed and evolves, how difficult it would be to distinguish what is real? When real could be simulated to what your hearts desired? Right now, I think it's easy to distinguish a dream from reality. But if you spend hours or days fully immersed in a technology embedded in your brain, a technology that may not be fully controlled by you, when will you start questioning if you are a butterfly, dreaming to be a man, or a man dreaming to be a butterfly?
The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world, built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
The idea of a simulated reality has been around for centuries, but it was philosopher Nick Bostrom who really brought the simulation theory to the forefront of academic discussion with his paper in 2003. Bostrom argues that if it's possible to create a simulation of reality, then one of three things must be true. 1. That we will destroy ourselves before gaining the ability to simulate our reality. 2. That we already have the capability but chose not to move forward. 3. That we are in a simulation and there are many simulations within. I would think the first two options we can cross out. Because we do not have the full capabilities to simulate a reality, and we are conscious enough to watch this video and comment on it. So, thankfully, we have not destroyed ourselves or made enough advancements to distinguish reality from a virtual one. So that would lead us to either believing in option 3 or not.
I think most likely, this is just about probability, there are many, many simulations. These simulations are, we might as well call them reality, or you could call them multiverse.
Imagine you're a character in a video game, going about your daily life, making choices, and interacting with the world around you. You might think that you have free will and choice, but what if everything you do is predetermined by the game's programming? Yes, it can be an open-world game, where you move where you please, but at the end of the day, you are constrained to the laws of physics, the laws that the programmers created within the game. In that sense, we might feel like we have control over our lives, but what if every decision we make has already been determined by the programming of our simulated reality? It's not as far-fetched as it may seem. We use computer simulations for all sorts of things, from predicting the spread of diseases to creating video games. And if a civilization became advanced enough, it's not hard to imagine that they might create simulations of their own history or even entire universes.
Right now, we're inside a computer program?
Is it really so hard to believe? Your clothes are different, the plugs in your arms and head are gone. Your hair has changed. Your appearance now is what we call residual self-image. It is the mental projection of your digital self.
From a biological standpoint, imagine being born a monkey in a zoo. The goal is to create an environment that is as close to the monkey's natural habitat as possible, while also ensuring their safety and well-being. Zookeepers and animal behaviorists work together to design habitats that meet the physical and psychological needs of the monkeys. This includes providing appropriate food and water, shelter, and enrichment activities to promote physical and mental stimulation. In a zoo setting, the simulated world for the monkey is intended to replicate their natural habitat as closely as possible, while still allowing visitors to observe and learn from them. This means creating an environment that provides opportunities for the monkeys to exhibit natural behaviors such as climbing, foraging, and socializing with other monkeys. All you will know is the life created around you by the zookeepers, who watch your behavior and growth. Imagine how shocking it would be if one day you are released to the wild. A different reality, your mind is not accustomed to. Could you survive? Would you be happy? Would your life have more meaning now that you are outside the captivity of your caretakers?
What is real? How do you define real? If you're talking about what you can feel, what you can smell, what you can taste and see, then real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
Of course, we don't have hard evidence that we're living in a simulation, but the very idea that we might be is both intriguing and unsettling. After all, if we are living in a simulation, what does that say about the nature of our existence?
You've been living in a dream world, Neo. This is the world as it exists today.
I hope this video entertained you, or made your brain hurt, in a good way. After all, my intent was to do just that. And though I am fascinated with the subject on a simulated universe, it is much more easier for me to carry my day accepting the world around me to be real. But when Elon Musk, a transcendent person, who is shaping the future to something I would think is for the good of humanity, says this.
Let's imagine it's 10,000 years in the future, which is nothing in the evolutionary scale. So given that we're clearly on a trajectory to have games that are indistinguishable from reality, and those games could be played on any set-top box or on a PC or whatever, and there would probably be, billions of such, computers or set-top boxes, it would seem to follow that the odds that we're in base reality is 1 in billions.
And I think the best way to prove we are capable of creating a high-level simulation is if we take the example of a monkey in a zoo and view it like the Truman Show, within a computer screen. Without noticeable intervention, we watch the characters in the computer develop and see how they dwell in their environment. We are not there, and I believe something like Neuralink is the building block for truly being able to create a high-level simulation, indistinguishable from reality. But the thought of a simulated reality, to me, sounds more philosophical than science. Mainly because it cannot be proven or disproved. And we can somehow find a relation to one another. Are we a product of evolution? Science? Or was it some creator's plan that we roam the earth? Simulation theory. That said, I am not opposed to thinking outside the box. After all, I feel truly that this is how geniuses are made. When we take in the information and digest it for a moment, and then draw conclusions or generate more questions based on your own knowledge, experience, and research to find something to satisfy yourself and those who hear it. And based on my own experience and thoughts, what satisfies me is that there is more to some of the bizarre and unexplained events around us than what we see or given explanations of. And at the end of the day, I believe what we see is reality, and how we carry ourselves has consequences. So tread lightly or heavily. Explore the world with curiosity, enjoy the moments, and remember, there are no extra lives in this blessed short time we call life. The afterlife? Well, that is another video in itself. Being my first episode, I really want to give a special thank you for those who subscribed early. It was something I wanted to try out and see the results, and pressure myself to create content like this. I wanted to make a credit roll, highlighting the subscribers, but I'm not sure how, and I wasn't able to see all who subscribed. But you know who you are, and I would like to thank you for encouraging my efforts for doing so. Your support through viewing, sharing, and commenting is important to me, as it will mold this channel to what we may see in the future. So thank you, and I hope you enjoyed the time out to watch it. I am happy to be in the moment, and I hope everyone is too, because in the grand scheme of things, life is short, and we should spend time on it, making each other happy. So pass on your blessings. Pass on your happiness and respect, and hopefully, it will come back to you tenfold. Until next time, my friends.